Thanksgiving always smelled like effort, butter melting too fast in a warm kitchen, sage and onions sizzling in a pan that had cooked 1,000 meals before this one. Turkey roasting slowly, patiently like it trusted that all this work meant something. I woke up before sunrise that morning, the way I always did on holidays. Not because anyone asked me to, but because no one else ever would. The house was quiet, wrapped in that fragile peace that exists only before expectations wake up. I stood at the sink, rolling up my sleeves, staring at my reflection in the dark glass of the window. The woman looking back at me had tired eyes and a soft face that had learned how to smile even when it hurt. A face that had learned how to disappear in plain sight. I told myself, just get through today. I always told myself that. By noon, the house was full. Laughter echoed from the living room, sharp and careless. My daughter's voice cut through it all confident, loud, assured. She used to sound like a child once. I remembered when her laughter needed me. Now it didn't even notice me. "Mom, did you remember the cranberry sauce?" she called, not looking at me. "It's chilling," I said, already knowing it was exactly where it should be. She nodded, already turning away. I moved around the kitchen like a ghost setting plates, wiping counters that were already clean, reheating things no one noticed were cold. Every movement was muscle memory built from decades of being necessary, but never acknowledged. I had raised her on scraped knees and midnight fevers, on spelling tests and broken hearts. I had skipped promotions, postponed dreams, stayed when leaving would have been easier. I told myself that love was supposed to cost something. No one tells you it might cost everything . We finally sat down at the table. The turkey was golden, the mashed potatoes smooth. Everything was perfect in the way things are when you want to believe appearances matter more than truth. Someone suggested we go around the table and say what we were thankful for. I smiled. Of course they did. My son-in-law went first, his job, his health, the house. I swallowed. My daughter went next. She was thankful for stability, for finally feeling like life was settled. Her hand rested on the table, fingers tapping, impatient to be done. When it came to me, I hesitated. "I'm thankful," I said slowly, "that we're together." It sounded small. It was the best lie I could manage. Then someone, maybe joking, maybe careless, said, "Well, what would be the best gift this year?" Laughter. Forks clinked, wine glasses lifted. My daughter didn't laugh. She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, eyes flicking toward me with a look I had seen too many times before, annoyance mixed with something sharper. "The best gift," she said, her voice clear and casual, "would be for you to be gone." The words landed quietly. No yelling, no anger. Just that sentence, placed gently on the table like a dish no one wanted to touch. Gone. I felt my chest tighten, not in a dramatic way, but in the slow, crushing way of realization. Like something inside me had finally understood what my heart had been denying for years. No one spoke. No one corrected her. No one said, "That's too far." They looked at their plates, at their hands, at anything except me. I searched her face for a smile, a hint of regret, a signal that this was a joke gone wrong. There was nothing. I nodded once, small, polite. "Well," I said softly, standing up, "who wants pie?" My legs carried me back into the kitchen before my heart could catch up. I kept moving because if I stopped, I knew I would break. I rinsed dishes that were already clean. I pressed my hands against the counter until the coolness steadied me. Behind me, the conversation resumed. Laughter returned lighter now, relieved. I realized something then with painful clarity. They weren't cruel because they hated me. They were cruel because they didn't need me anymore, or so they thought. That night, after the guests left and the house fell silent again, I sat alone at the kitchen table. Crumbs scattered like evidence of a life I had fed but never lived. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply listened to the echo of her words replay in my head. The best gift would be for you to be gone. I looked around the house. The walls I helped paint, The floors I scrubbed on aching knees, the mortgage payments I quietly contributed to without ever asking for my name on anything, and something inside me finally settled. If my absence was what they wanted, then I would make it unforgettable. I didn't leave right away. That's what surprised me most about myself. After Thanksgiving, life slipped back into its usual rhythm, as if nothing had happened. Dishes clinked, doors opened and closed. My daughter spoke to me when she needed something, and passed me when she didn't. The sentence she had thrown across the table lay between us like a hairline crack in glass. No one acknowledged it, but everything was fractured all the same. I moved through the days quietly, observantly, like someone packing up a house while the owners were still living in it. At night, I lay awake and thought about all the things I had once wanted. A small apartment near the ocean. Mornings without obligation. A life where my presence wasn't measured by its usefulness. I realized how long it had been since I had allowed myself to imagine a future that included *me*. The decision wasn't sudden. It was earned. I began with paperwork. I gathered bank statements, loan documents, insurance forms, things I had managed for years without anyone noticing. I sat at the dining room table, the same one where my daughter had told me she'd be better off without me, and I did the math carefully. The mortgage balance wasn't small, but neither was my resolve. I had savings money tucked away quietly over decades. Birthday checks never spent, raises never celebrated, money meant for someday, a word that had always been conveniently undefined. I wired the payment on a Tuesday morning. No ceremony, no witnesses, just a confirmation number blinking on the screen. *** mortgage paid in full. ***, I stared at those words longer than I expected to, not with pride, with clarity. This house, this stability, this life my daughter claimed as her own had been built on sacrifices she had never seen. I printed the receipt, then I booked my flight, one way, Hawaii. The woman at the airline counter smiled when she said it, like she thought I was starting an adventure. Maybe I was, or maybe I was finally ending something that had been killing me quietly for years. I packed slowly. Not everything, just what mattered. Clothes that made me feel like myself. A book I'd never had time to read. A photo of my daughter when she was small, before the world taught her that love was something you could grow out of. Each item felt like a goodbye. The hardest part wasn't leaving. It was staying silent. I still made dinners. Still folded laundry. Still answered questions. I became the perfect version of the woman they already overlooked. I smiled more, spoke less. I let them believe nothing had changed, because revenge, I was learning, didn't have to be loud. Sometimes it wore kindness like a disguise. The night before I left, I sat alone in my room and wrote the letter. I didn't accuse, I didn't beg, I told the truth. I wrote about the nights I stayed up worrying over bills. The dreams I postponed, the way love had slowly turned into obligation, and obligation into expectation. I wrote about Thanksgiving, and I wrote one sentence I knew she would never forget. *, you asked for my absence. I hope it gives you everything you thought I was taking from you. *, I placed the letter inside a folder. Behind it, I tucked the mortgage papers highlighted, signed, undeniable. I set the folder carefully on her desk. Not hidden, not dramatic, just waiting. At dawn, I stood in the doorway of the house one last time. The air was still. The walls held the echoes of my footsteps, my voice, my life. I didn't leave a note on the fridge. I didn't wake anyone. I picked up my bag and closed the door softly behind me. As the car pulled away, I didn't look back. Some gifts are wrapped in silence. Some goodbyes sound like freedom. And some absences are about to say more than a lifetime of staying ever could. The house woke up without me. At first, no one noticed. The coffee pot stayed cold. The dishwasher hummed empty. Shoes were left by the door, waiting for someone who no longer came behind them to straighten things out. Absence is quiet in the beginning. It tiptoes, it waits. My daughter noticed around mid-morning. She called my name once, casually, from the hallway. No answer, she called again, irritation creeping into her voice. She checked the guest room. then the kitchen, then finally my bedroom. The bed was made, too neatly. The closet looked lighter, like something had been lifted from it. Panic came in small pieces. Her phone buzzed work emails, group chats, nothing from me. Then she saw the desk. The folder sat in the center, pale against the dark wood. Deliberate, impossible to miss. She frowned, already annoyed. I imagined her thinking it was another list. Another reminder. Another small, invisible thing I had left behind for her to deal with. She opened it. The first page was the letter. She read the opening lines quickly, expecting something inconvenient. Something emotional she could skim past, but the tone stopped her. Not desperate, not angry, steady. By the third paragraph, she had stopped breathing normally. I told her about the years she never counted. The weekends I worked instead of resting, the dreams I shelved because her needs always came first. I didn't list sacrifices like weapons. I laid them out like facts because they were. Then she reached the line about Thanksgiving. The sentence she had spoken so easily stared back at her in my handwriting. Asterisk, the best gift would be for you to be gone. Asterisk, her stomach dropped. I wrote back to her gently, asterisk, I heard you, I believed you, and because I love you, I gave you what you asked for. Asterisk, her hands began to shake. She turned the page, that's when she saw the documents, official, stamped, signed, asterisk, asterisk, mortgage balance, $0, 00, asterisk, asterisk, paid in full. By me, the house she thought of as hers, the security she built her life upon, all resting on money she never asked about, never thanked, never even knew existed. She sat down hard in the chair. This wasn't abandonment, this was completion. She read the final paragraph twice. Asterisk, I did not leave because I was unwanted. I left because I finally understood my worth. You will never worry about this house again. You will never need me for money again. And that, my love, is the last thing I will ever give without being asked to disappear. Asterisk, the room felt too small. She called her husband, then her siblings. Her voice broke as she explained. Confusion turned into silence. Silence into guilt. For the first time, they weren't united against my presence. They were united in my absence. Questions started flying. Who paid the mortgage? How long had I planned this? Why hadn't anyone noticed how tired I was? But guilt doesn't like mirrors. It looks for someone to blame, and there was no one left but each other. Meanwhile, I was thousands of miles away. The plane window framed an ocean so wide it felt unreal. Sunlight danced on the water like a promise. For the first time in decades, my shoulders weren't tense with responsibility. I slept deeply. When I woke, we were descending into Hawaii. Green stretched beneath us, lush, unapologetic, alive, the kind of beauty that doesn't ask permission to exist. I stepped off the plane into warm air and something inside me cracked open. Not pain, relief. Back at the house, my daughter sat at the desk long after everyone else had left. The letter lay open, the truth heavy in her hands. She realized too late that what I left her wasn't just a paid-off house. It was the weight of knowing exactly what she had lost. And there are some debts no money, no matter how much, can ever repay. Hawaii didn't ask me who I was. It didn't care who I'd been to anyone else, or how long I'd carried other people's lives on my back. The air was warm and generous, wrapping around me like an unearned kindness. Palm trees swayed without apology. The ocean breathed in slow, steady rhythms, calmer than my heart had been in years. For the first few days, I did nothing, and it felt revolutionary. I woke when my body told me to. I drank coffee while watching the sunrise instead of rushing to serve it. I walked barefoot on sand that shifted beneath me, reminding me that even solid things could move and still remain whole. I rented a small place near the water, nothing fancy, just enough, for the first time in my life, enough, felt like abundance. At night, I thought about my daughter, not with anger, with grief. I remembered her as a child, small hands wrapped around my fingers, her voice calling for me in the dark. Love doesn't disappear just because it's wounded. It lingers, it aches, it learns how to stand on its own. The messages started coming a week later. At first, they were short. Asterisk, where are you? Asterisk, asterisk, we need to talk. Asterisk, I didn't answer. Then they grew longer. Apologies spilled out in rushed paragraphs. Regret, confusion, fear. She said she hadn't meant it like that. She said she was stressed. She said she didn't know how much I'd done. She said she missed me. I read every word. And I still didn't reply, because some truths don't need immediate forgiveness. They need space. They need time to sink in. I found a routine: morning swims, afternoon books, conversations with strangers who didn't know my history and didn't need it explained. I laughed more easily. I slept without listening for footsteps or doors. I began to feel solid, like a woman who belonged to herself. One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, my phone buzzed again. A single message this time. Asterisk, I understand now. I didn't lose you because you left. I lost you because I didn't see you. I'm sorry. Asterisk, I closed my eyes. The ocean answered with a soft, endless hush. I typed back slowly. Asterisk, I love you, but I am learning how to love myself too. That doesn't end our story, it changes it. Asterisk, I didn't promise to come back. I didn't need to. Somewhere between the waves and the silence, I understood something I had spent my whole life avoiding. Leaving wasn't punishment. It wasn't revenge. It was survival. And the sweetest kind of justice is the kind that doesn't destroy others. It simply refuses to destroy yourself any longer. That night I stood on the balcony, salt in the air, stars scattered like quiet witnesses. The woman I had been tired, invisible, endlessly giving, stood beside me in memory. I thanked her, then I let her rest, because I was no longer the woman who stayed where she was unwanted. I was the woman who chose herself, and that choice finally, unapologetically, was mine.